Have you ever walked into a house and felt, in the first second, whether that place was at peace or in chaos? It is not expensive perfume or magazine-worthy decoration. It is energy. And the energy of a cluttered house screams. It yells, "Help! Nobody takes care of me." Know that there exists a gigantic difference between living in a house and simply sleeping in it. And if you feel that your house has become a storage unit for things without purpose, perhaps it is time to learn what the Japanese have known for centuries. The house is the mirror of the soul, and both need to breathe. Before continuing, if you desire to cultivate a lighter life with less excess and more sophistication, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and leave your like. You are not here by accident, and I am not speaking alone either. A few years ago, I visited the house of a friend, a brilliant lawyer, always impeccable at the office. Impeccable suit, perfect makeup, genuine leather bag. But upon entering her house, I was shocked. Piles of mail on the dining table, shoes scattered at the entrance as if there had been an emergency evacuation, dishes in the sink since breakfast. She told me, almost laughing, but with tired eyes, "Sorry about the mess. I had a hectic week." The problem? That mess was months old. Drawers that would not close, cabinets that exploded when opened, clothes piled on a chair that was no longer even visible, and that woman so competent out there was completely lost inside her home. It was not laziness. It was abandonment disguised as routine. She was so busy organizing the lives of others that she forgot to organize her own. And it was there that I realized, disorganization does not choose profession. It chooses those who do not choose themselves. The house as temple, not as storage unit. The Japanese do not treat the house as just any place. For them, home is almost sacred. It is not exaggeration. It is not romanticization. It is real. From childhood, they learn that each object has its function, each space has its purpose, and nothing, absolutely nothing, should be there by chance. I grew up watching my grandmother treat the house as if she were treating a Zen garden, with patience, with attention, with reverence. She said that a well-cared-for house takes care of those who live in it. And she was right. When the house is in order, you think better, you decide better, you live better. But when the house is in chaos, you carry that chaos to all corners of your life. When I returned from Japan in 1992, I brought only 2 suitcases. Not because I did not have more things, but because I learned that carrying excess is carrying the past. And the past weighs heavy. Since then, I keep at home only what has function, beauty, or history. The rest? It does not deserve my space, nor my energy. And this is not deprivation. It is freedom. Freedom to breathe, to think, to live without being suffocated by objects that serve nothing. Wabi-sabi, the beauty that lives in imperfection. Here, let me introduce you to one of the most beautiful and profound concepts of Japanese philosophy, wabi-sabi. It is the acceptance of imperfection, the valuing of the transitory, the celebration of the incomplete. It is looking at a cracked cup and, instead of throwing it away, seeing beauty in its scars. Wabi means rustic simplicity, stripped elegance, tranquility that comes from being in harmony with nature. Sabi means the beauty that emerges with time, the patina that forms on old objects, the marks of the passage of years. Together, they form a worldview that goes against everything the West has taught us, that perfection is the goal, that new is better, that shine is synonymous with value. I have a ceramic bowl that I use every day for my green tea. It was handmade by a ceramist in Kyoto in the 1980s. It has irregularities. It has marks. It has small cracks that tell its story. And it is the most beautiful piece I own, because it carries time. It carries memory. It carries authenticity. There exists a Japanese art called kintsugi, golden mending. When a ceramic breaks, instead of throwing it away or trying to disguise the crack, artisans repair it with lacquer mixed with gold powder. The scars remain visible. More than that, they are highlighted, celebrated, because the break is part of the history of the object, and history is what makes something unique. It is told that in the 15th century, the shogun Ashikaga Yoshimasa sent a broken tea bowl to China for repair. When it returned, It was stapled with ugly and functional metal. He was disappointed. He then asked Japanese artisans to find a more beautiful way to fix it. And they created kintsugi. They transformed the break into art. They made imperfection even more valuable than the original perfection. This is wabi-sabi. It is accepting that nothing lasts forever, that everything ages, that everything changes, and finding beauty exactly in that. It is stopping the pursuit of perfection and starting to value the authentic. My walnut wood dining table, which I bought in 2010, has marks of use, small scratches, coffee stains that did not come out, and I do not cover these marks, because they tell the story of the dinners that happened there, of the conversations I had with my son Kenji, of the friends I received. This table is not perfect, and it is exactly because of that it is precious. Wabi-sabi teaches us to stop comparing, to stop seeking the impeccable, to stop discarding what has history just because it is no longer new. It teaches us that true beauty is in imperfections, in details that only those who live perceive, in marks that time leaves, and that we should honor, not hide. Ma, the silent power of empty space. The Japanese have a beautiful and profound word, ma. It means the space between things. It is not empty from lack. It is not empty from poverty. It is empty by choice, because only in empty space can something new breathe. Ma is about leaving margin, about creating pause, about respecting the silence between musical notes, between furniture, between tasks, between thoughts. I apply ma throughout my entire house. On shelves, I leave 30% of space free. In closets, I never fill to the top. In rooms, each piece of furniture has air around it. Nothing is pressed, squeezed, suffocated. And you know what happens? The house seems larger, calmer, more breathable, as if I had gained square feet without changing apartments. A client of mine, a fashion editor, lived in an apartment in Beverly Hills. Beautiful, expensive, well located, decorated by a famous designer. But she lived in anguish. She said she felt short of breath inside her home. When I entered there, I understood. There was not a single inch of empty space. Paintings covering all walls, pillows multiplying on sofas, decorative objects competing for attention on every surface, books stacked to the ceiling. Everything screamed. It was visual cacophony. We did a deep cleaning. We donated, sold, discarded. And suddenly, she did not need organizers anymore. Because when you have less, organizing is natural. When you have 70% of space filled, you do not need tricks. Order happens by itself. This rule also has a profound psychological side. When a space is 100% full, you feel claustrophobia. You feel pressure. You feel there is no room to breathe. But when there is 30% void, you feel lightness. You feel possibility. You feel there is still room to grow. The rule of 70% is about conscious abundance. It is not deprivation. It is choice. It is keeping only what you really use, love, and respect. It is having space for what matters, and letting go of what is just filler. Kaizen, the silent discipline of small daily gestures. Kaizen is the philosophy of continuous improvement. In Japan, it applies in factories, schools, offices, and at home. The idea is simple. Small daily actions prevent great future chaos. It is the opposite of the mentality of, let it accumulate to do everything at once. It is the discipline of doing a little, but doing always. I practice Kaizen every morning. Upon rising, I make the bed. It does not matter if I am in a hurry. It does not matter if nobody will see. I make it. Because starting the day with the bed made is starting with a small victory. When making coffee, I wash the cup immediately. When changing clothes, I store the previous piece or put it directly in the laundry. I do not leave for later, because later becomes never, and never becomes chronic mess. My mother, who has always been a businesswoman obsessed with aesthetics and perfectionism, used to accumulate tasks. She left dishes for the end of the day, clothes for the weekend, drawers for when she had time. Result? She lived stressed. She lived surrounded by piles. She lived postponing. Until, in 2012, After becoming ill, she began to adopt Kaizen. She changed completely. Today, at 70-something years old, she has the most organized house I know, and the most tranquil mind as well. She told me once, "I spent more energy worrying about the mess than I would spend if I simply tidied up right away." The Kaizen philosophy was born in the context of post-World War II Japanese industry, especially at Toyota, where small daily improvements transformed production efficiency. But the Japanese realized this was not just for factories, it was for life. Because life is made of small, repeated gestures, and it is these gestures that determine the quality of the whole. Kaizen is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. 5 minutes per day is worth more than 5 hours on Saturday, because consistency builds habits, and habits build lives. You do not need a dramatic cleaning. You need silent discipline. Every day, without fanfare, without drama. Just you and your house, in partnership. The Genkan ritual. Leave the world at the door. In Japan, the entrance of the house is called Genkan. And no, it is not just a hall. It is a sacred transition, a portal between the chaos of the world outside and the peace of home. The Genkan is a lowered space, generally of ceramic, wood, or stone, where you remove your shoes. Always. It is not whim. It is not just hygiene. It is a symbolic gesture that says, inside here is different. Inside here, the outside world does not enter. This tradition is more than 1,000 years old. It comes from the time when Japanese houses were built on elevated wooden platforms. Removing shoes was a practical matter, keeping the interior clean and protected. But over time, this gesture transformed into something greater. It became a decompression ritual. A moment of pause, an act of respect for the space one inhabits. I have practiced this since I returned from Japan. My Genkan is simple: a small walnut wood bench, a discreet vase with seasonal dried leaves, a clean mat. Nothing more. And every day, upon removing my shoes and putting on my linen slippers, I feel I am leaving the weight of the day behind. It is a silent reset, a minute of pause before entering my private life, a gesture that says, I deserve peace, and this house deserves respect. This habit also prevents literal dirt from entering the house. Studies show that street shoes carry bacteria, pesticides, pollen, urban dust, everything you stepped on during the day. But most importantly, it prevents emotional dirt from entering as well. Because when you create an arrival ritual, you tell your brain, now is time to rest. Now I am home. If you do not have space for an elaborate Genkan, start with the essential: a clean mat, a fixed place for shoes, and the commitment to never again walk through the house with street shoes. Your floor, your feet, and your mind will thank you. And if you live with other people, teach this ritual. Because the house begins at the entrance. And if the entrance is in chaos, the rest will follow the same path. Vertical organization. Everything in view, nothing forgotten. Forget piles. In Japan, everything is organized vertically. Clothes folded standing up, documents filed in vertical folders, utensils in holders that expose, not hide. It is the system that allows you to see everything at once. And when you see everything, you control everything. I learned to fold clothes vertically in Kyoto, with an 80-year-old lady who organized her house with the precision of origami. She showed me how each piece can stand upright, fitted next to the other, in shallow drawers. When you open, you see all your clothes at once. You do not need to rummage. You do not need to take apart piles. You do not need to pull the piece from the bottom and knock everything down. Each piece is visible. Each piece has its place. This changed my life. Today, I open my t-shirt drawer and see all of them aligned, vertical, like files. I know exactly what I have. I do not forget anything. I do not buy duplicates. I do not accumulate what I do not use. Because when you see everything you have, you stop accumulating what you do not need. I did the same with my documents. I have a single large drawer where everything is organized in hanging folders, labeled, separated by category: taxes, health, Kenji, house, projects. It takes me less than 10 seconds to find anything, and the rest? I digitized and archived in the cloud. I do not keep unnecessary paper. I do not keep just in case. I keep the essential. and the essential fits in one drawer. Vertical organization is not aesthetic. It is functional, because time is luxury. And wasting time looking for things that should be in view is waste that no elegant woman should accept. Organize vertically. See everything. Control everything. And free your mind for things more important than rummaging through drawers. Ichigo Ichi. One touch, one place. Ichigo Ichi is a Buddhist concept that means one moment, one encounter. It is the idea that each instant is unique and does not repeat. I applied this to organization. Each time I touch an object, I immediately place it in the right place. There is no, I will put away later. There is no, I will leave it here for now. There exists only, I took it, I used it, I put it away. Does it seem radical? Perhaps. But it works. I take a cup, use it, wash it, put it away. I take a book, read it, return it to the shelf. I take clothes, wear them, wash them, fold them, put them away. Simple, direct, without accumulation, without tables covered with things I will put away later, without chairs that became improvised hangers, without counters that became temporary storage. My son Kenji, who today studies civil engineering and is methodical by nature, told me once, "Mom, you are obsessive." I laughed and responded, "No, son, I am free, because I do not waste time collecting what I left behind. I do not live as a function of mess that I myself created." There is a phrase in Zen Buddhism that says, "When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk." Ichigo Ichi is this applied to domestic life. When you take something, just take it, and then just put it away. Do not do it twice. Do not leave for later. Do not procrastinate the basic. Ichigo Ichi teaches that each gesture matters, and that the laziness of 1 second generates the mess of a week. Therefore, be impeccable with small acts. They build the whole, one gesture at a time, one choice at a time, and at the end of the day, your house will be in order, without Herculean effort, just elegant consistency. The 70% rule: let your closets breathe. In Japan, no closet, drawer, or shelf should be 100% full. The rule is, fill at most 70%. The other 30%? Space to breathe, space to grow, space for the unexpected. It is Ma applied to storage. I follow this religiously. My closets are never packed. My drawers never overflow. My books never squeeze on shelves. And the result? I can see everything, access everything, keep everything organized without effort. Because when there is space, there is order. When there is excess, there is chaos. A friend who is an architect told me she lived buying organizers, boxes, dividers, but nothing solved. The mess always came back. Until she realized the problem was not lack of organization, it was excess of things. We did a deep cleaning. We donated, sold, discarded, and suddenly, she did not need organizers anymore. Because when you have less, organizing is natural. When you have 70% of space filled, you do not need tricks. Order happens by itself. This rule also has a profound psychological side. When a space is 100% full, you feel claustrophobia. You feel pressure. You feel there is no room to breathe. But when there is 30% void, you feel lightness. You feel possibility. You feel there is still room to grow. The rule of 70% is about conscious abundance. It is not deprivation. It is choice. It is keeping only what you really use, love, and respect. It is having space for what matters, and letting go of what is just filler. The 3-second rule: immediate action without procrastination. If a task takes less than 3 seconds, do it immediately. Hang a towel, throw a paper in the trash, close a drawer, align the slippers. It is not about being neurotic. It is about avoiding accumulation, because accumulation does not happen all at once. It happens drop by drop, one object at a time, one small thing at a time. I timed it once, out of curiosity. Hanging a wet towel takes 2 seconds, but leaving it thrown on the bed means having to pick it up later, take it to the bathroom, hang it, and deal with the smell of mildew. That is, saving 2 seconds costs 10 minutes later. Apart from the mental wear of seeing that towel there, judging you, reminding you that you are procrastinating even in the basics. It makes no sense. It is more work to leave for later. The 3-second rule eliminates domestic procrastination. And when you stop procrastinating at home, you stop procrastinating in life. It is mental training. It is silent discipline. It is elegance in action. Because elegance is not only in appearance, it is in gestures, in consistency, in discipline that nobody sees, but that you feel. Domestic stations. Each function has its territory. The Japanese group objects by function, not by generic category. Everything for breakfast stays together. Everything for cleaning stays together. Everything for sewing stays together. It is what I call domestic stations. Each activity has its territory, and within that territory, everything you need is there, without searching, without improvising, without wasting time. In my kitchen, I have a drawer just for the tea ritual: the iron kettle, the ceramic bowl, the green tea container, the bamboo spoon, everything there. I do not need to search through cabinets. I open the drawer, make my tea, put everything back. It takes 1 minute. It is meditative. It is functional. It is respect for ritual. I also have a correspondence station: envelopes, stamps, quality pen, good scissors, adhesive tape, everything in a single small wooden box. Do I need to send something? Ready? Everything is there. I do not need to look for anything. I do not need to improvise with material that does not serve. Everything has its place. Everything is ready. My father, who has owned restaurants for decades, applies this in professional kitchens. Everything for desserts stays together. Everything for sauces stays together. Everything for grilling stays together. There is no time to search. There is no space for disorganization. And the same goes for home. Domestic stations eliminate rework. And rework is enemy of time. And time, as I already said, is the greatest luxury. Micro-cleaning, small gestures, great daily impact. Forget the exhaustive weekly cleaning. In Japan, cleaning is fractionated. A mirror here, a counter there, a corner over there. Every day, a little. Without effort, without drama, without that tiredness that makes you postpone cleaning until the house becomes chaos. I clean while I live. When brushing teeth, I wipe the bathroom mirror with a cloth. When cooking, I clean the counter while the pot heats. When leaving the shower, I dry the glass with the squeegee. It takes seconds, but it prevents hours of heavy cleaning on the weekend. It prevents that feeling of always being late with cleaning. It prevents the guilt of living in a house that is never clean enough. My father always said, "Dirty kitchen is closed kitchen." And he is right. It is not perfectionism. It is respect. Respect for space. Respect for who uses it. Respect for yourself. In his restaurants, cleaning happens all the time. There is no cleaning time. There is constant, discreet, invisible cleaning. And the result? An environment always impeccable, without dramatic effort. Microcleaning is about preventing, not remedying. It is about not letting the small become big. Because when you let it, it already has. And then you need an entire afternoon, heavy products, energy you do not have. But if you clean while you live, the house maintains itself, as if it were taking care of you as well. Gratitude for objects. The ritual of honoring what we have. In Japan, there exists a concept called motenai, the feeling of waste, of not taking full advantage of something. It is regret for wasting. But there also exists the opposite, deep gratitude for what one has, the ceremony of what is used, the reverence for objects that serve. Every Friday I do my kakebo ritual, Japanese domestic financial control. I sit at my walnut wood dining table, which I bought in 2010, and which has accompanied me for more than a decade. I serve myself bancha tea in my ceramic bowl with scars of time, and I review my expenses, my projects, my life. It is not bureaucracy. It is contemplation. It is pause. It is a sacred moment with myself. While doing this, I give thanks for the table that sustains me, for the bowl that warms my hands, for the house that welcomes me, for the roof that protects me, for the walls that guard my privacy. This simple gesture transforms everything, because when you are grateful for what you have, you stop desiring what you do not need. When you honor your objects, you stop accumulating objects without value. There exists a Shinto ritual in Japan called harikuyo, the funeral of broken needles. Once a year, seamstresses take their old and broken needles to a temple, stick them in soft tofu so they can rest after so much hard work, and give thanks for their services. It is an act of gratitude to objects that worked for you. Does it seem strange? Perhaps, but it is profoundly beautiful. It is saying, "You served me well. I respect you. Thank you." Gratitude is not romanticization. It is recognition. It is saying, "This here is enough." And enough is abundance. It is stopping running after what is missing and starting to value what is present. Because in the end, the house you inhabit does not need to be large. It needs to be loved. The objects you possess do not need to be many. They need to be respected. The house as discipline, not as punishment. Organizing the house is not about being perfect. It is not about impressing visitors. It is not about following rules strictly. It is about creating an environment where you can live well, breathe deeply, think clearly, rest truly. It is about transforming your house into a refuge, not into a battlefield. My grandmother lived until 94 years with admirable health, and she always said, "The house takes care of those who take care of it." She was not speaking of obsessive cleaning. She was speaking of intention, of presence, of respect for the space we inhabit. She cleaned as if meditating. She tidied as if praying. And she lived in a house so serene that you felt peace just being there. When I returned from Japan, I realized that in America we have the habit of celebrating abundance. More is better. The fuller, the richer. The more things, the more success. But this is not wealth. It is accumulation. And accumulation suffocates. Accumulation weighs. Accumulation takes your freedom. True wealth is in empty space. In the closet that breathes. In the drawer that opens without jamming. In the table that is free. In the sofa where you can sit without removing anything from the place. In the entrance where you can walk without dodging shoes. In the kitchen where you can cook without moving 15 things before. What will you do now? You do not need to apply everything at once. Choose one principle, just one, and practice for 1 week. See what changes. See how you feel. Because organization is not instant transformation. It is daily construction. It is like learning a language. It is like cultivating a garden. It is like creating anything worthwhile, with patience, consistency, and small repeated gestures. Start with the genkan. Define a fixed place for shoes. Remove them when entering. Feel the difference. Then, choose one closet, just one, and remove 30% of things. Donate what you do not use. Sell what has value. Discard what no longer serves. And see how that closet breathes. How you breathe along with it. In the following week, practice the 3-second rule. Do not leave anything for later if it takes less than 3 seconds. See how your house stops accumulating small messes. See how your mind stops accumulating small guilts. And gradually, these principles become habits. And habits become way of living. And suddenly, you are no longer doing organization. You are living in an organized way. And there exists an enormous difference between these two things. One is effort, the other is flow. When the house reflects who you decided to be. A few months ago, that lawyer friend of mine called me. She said she had hired someone to help her organize the house, and that in the process she realized it was not just the house that was messy, it was her. She was accumulating work because she did not know how to say no. She was accumulating things because she did not know what she really wanted. She was living on automatic, without intention, without pause, without choice. Today, her house is different, and so is she. She has fewer things. She works fewer hours. She lives better. And she told me something I will never forget. I thought organizing the house was superficial. I thought it was about aesthetics. But it is not. It is about respect. Respect for myself. Because when I take care of my house, I am saying, I deserve to live well. I deserve peace. I deserve beauty. And that changed everything. She understood what the Japanese have known for centuries. The house is not scenery. It is a mirror. Mirror of what you value. Mirror of what you choose. Mirror of who you decided to be. And when you look at your house and see chaos, you are seeing the reflection of choices that were not made, of objects that were not questioned, of habits that were not reviewed. But when you look at your house and see order, space, intentional beauty, you are seeing the reflection of a life you chose, of a woman who chose herself, and that is priceless. Minimalism is not poverty. It is silent luxury. Let me be clear. Minimalism is not for the poor. Living with less from lack of option is necessity. Living with less by choice is luxury. It is sophistication. It is being able to say, I could have more, but I choose to have better. I grew up in a wealthy family. My parents always had conditions to buy what they wanted, and they bought. My mother, a businesswoman in the fashion sector, lived surrounded by excess. Clothes, shoes, bags, accessories. She had 3 closets. And even so, she complained she had nothing to wear, because it was not about quantity. It was about lack of clarity, lack of conscious choice, lack of intention. When she became ill, in 2012, she was forced to stop, to reevaluate, to simplify, and she discovered something the fashion industry would never tell. More options do not make you more free. They make you more confused, more tired, more overwhelmed. She donated 70% of her wardrobe. She kept 50 pieces. And for the first time in decades, she said she knew exactly what she had, and she dressed better, with more elegance, with more ease. I have maintained a lean closet since 2008, when I lost everything in the financial crisis. Today, I have 33 pieces that combine with each other, 5 pairs of shoes, each with specific purpose, 7 jewels, each with meaning. And this is not deprivation, it is freedom. Freedom to not waste time choosing, freedom to not worry about what to wear, freedom to focus on what really matters. True luxury is not having 1,000 options. It is having the right options. It is not having an enormous and full house. It is having a house that breathes. It is not accumulating. It is choosing. And choosing is power. The rituals that transform the common into sacred. One of the most beautiful things I learned in Japan is that the Japanese transform everyday acts into rituals. Not religious rituals necessarily, but rituals of presence, of intention, of respect for the moment. The tea ceremony, which I have practiced since I was 15 years old, is not about drinking tea. It is about being present. Each gesture is intentional. Each movement has meaning. Preparing the water, measuring the tea, serving with both hands, giving thanks before drinking. There is no hurry. There is no distraction. Just you, the tea, and the moment. I apply this to domestic life. When I make the bed in the morning, I do not do it automatically. I do it with intention. I smooth the sheet. I adjust the pillow. I fold the blanket. And for 1 minute, I am completely present in that act. It is meditation. It is pause. It is a gesture that says, I respect this day. I respect this house. I respect myself. When I make coffee, it is not just coffee. It is ritual. I grind the beans. I heat the water to the right temperature. I prepare calmly. I serve in a porcelain cup that I love. I sit. I breathe. And I drink the first sip with gratitude. This minute transforms the day because you start with presence, with intention, with beauty. Life does not need to be rushed to be full. Living slowly with intention is a choice of inner sophistication. It is saying, I will not rush through my life as if I were late for it. It is transforming washing dishes into meditation, folding clothes into contemplation, cleaning the house into ceremony. The Japanese have a phrase, when you sweep the floor, you are sweeping your mind. It is not empty poetry. It is real. Because when you take care of the house with presence, you are taking care of yourself. You are organizing not just the space. You are organizing thoughts, emotions, life. What happens when you stop accumulating and start choosing? Have you noticed that we live in a society that teaches us to accumulate? Accumulate experiences. Accumulate relationships. Accumulate achievements. Accumulate things, as if quantity were synonymous with success. as if having more meant being more. But it does not mean that. Accumulating is easy. Anyone accumulates. Just do not discard. Just do not choose. Just let everything in and never let anything out. But this is not abundance. It is disorder disguised as prosperity. Choosing is difficult. Choosing hurts. Because choosing means letting go. It means saying no. It means accepting that you cannot have everything, that you do not need everything, that less, when it is right, is infinitely more than much, when it is wrong. When I returned from Japan with 2 suitcases, my friends were shocked. Just that? But you lived there 5 years. Yes, 5 years. And only 2 suitcases. Because I learned that carrying excess is carrying dead weight. It is carrying past. It is carrying identity that is no longer yours. Letting go is not losing. It is liberating. It is making space. It is choosing who you are now, not who you were, not who you imagined you would be, but who you really are. And that brutal honesty with yourself, is liberating. Messy house is not sign of life. It is sign of abandonment. There is an excuse I hear all the time. Oh, but messy house is lived-in house. I have a life. I do not have time to organize. Let me be honest with you. This is a lie you tell yourself. Messy house is not sign of life. It is sign of lack of priority, of lack of discipline, of lack of self-love. You have time for what you prioritize. If you prioritize scrolling through Instagram feed for 40 minutes before sleeping, but do not have time to put away clean clothes, it is not lack of time. It is choice. You are choosing distraction instead of care. You are choosing escape instead of essential. And I understand. I understand that it is tiring, that the day was long, that you are exhausted. But it is exactly because of this that you need an organized house. Because when you arrive home exhausted and find chaos, you become more exhausted. When you wake up and see mess, you already start the day defeated. But when you arrive home and find order, you breathe. When you wake up and see beauty, you start the day with lightness. The house is not neutral. It drains you or recharges you, and you choose which of the two. The invitation: transform your house, transform your life. If you arrived here, you already know this is not about decoration. It is not about aesthetic minimalism. It is not about having a house worthy of magazines. It is about having a house worthy of you, a house where you can rest truly, think clearly, live with intention. The 10 principles I shared are not rigid rules. They are invitations. Invitations to experiment, to see what resonates, to discover what transforms. You do not need to follow all. You need to find the ones that make sense for your life, for your house, for who you are. But I guarantee you, if you practice even 3 of these principles, your house will change. And when your house changes, your life changes with it. Because you are not just organizing objects, you are organizing your mind. You are organizing your priorities. You are organizing your life. And that, my dear, is silent revolution. It is elegance that nobody sees, but that you feel. It is sophistication that does not need audience. It is freedom that fits in an organized house, in a closet that breathes, in a free table, in an entrance that welcomes you. These principles are not novelty. They are ancestral wisdom, but they are also contemporary urgency. Because we have never needed peace as much as we need today. We have never been so bombarded by stimuli, by options, by pressures. And the house should be refuge from this, not another place of chaos. And now, the commitment. If you want to live with more lightness, more intention, more elegance, and less clutter, less hurry, less vulgarity, subscribe to the channel now, activate the bell so you do not miss any video, and leave your like. Because this here is not about decoration, it is about living well. And living well is an art that is practiced every day, with small gestures, in silence, with intention. Reflect on what you learned today. Review mentally the 10 principles. Choose one to start tomorrow. And answer me in the comments. Are you ready to transform your house into a refuge of peace? Write yes in the comments if you will apply at least one of these secrets in your life. And if this video made sense to you, if you felt these words touch something true inside you, Also comment the phrase, "Less is freedom." I want to know you are with me on this journey. I want to know you understood that organizing the house is not about perfectionism. It is about respect. Respect for yourself, respect for your time, respect for your peace. Because in the end, what matters is not having an impeccable house. It is having a house where you can be yourself, without guilt, without chaos, without weight. A house that welcomes you, that calms you, that returns you to yourself at the end of the day. And that, my dear, cannot be bought. That is built. With patience, with discipline, with affection, one gesture at a time, one day at a time, one choice at a time, until the next video. And remember, the house you inhabit reflects the life you choose. Choose with intention, choose with elegance, choose with love, because you deserve a serene house and a mind at peace. Write in the comments, "Less is freedom."